topic today is Sri Sarada Devi, embodiment of divine love. And indeed, this is the month for the Mother Goddess. Not only is Sarada Devi's birthday often in December or January, according to the lunar calendar, but this month it is on December 26th. And so because it falls close to Christmas, we began to celebrate her birth observance on January 1st, along with Kalpataru Day. But we also have Mother Mary behind us. She also is worshipped as an aspect of the Divine Mother. Every incarnation of God brings with him his divine Shakti. With Christ, it was Mother Mary. With Rama, it was Sita. With Krishna, it was Radha. And in the Ramakrishna incarnation, it was Sarada Devi. But who was she? And what did she embody? Many would say her compassion. She was the mother of all. Sarada Devi herself stated, "I am the mother of the virtuous. I am the mother of the wicked. Whenever you are in distress, say to yourself, I have a mother." This heartfelt statement is what it means to embody divine love. Swami Premananda, disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, once said, "Practice love until you remember that you are love." Sarada Devi practiced and manifested that kind of love in her life. She was compassion and love itself. What was the source of that love? That Ananda, the bliss aspect of Satchidananda. It can be found in her special relationship with Sri Ramakrishna. When she came to Dakshineshwar from her village, he kept her by his side, gave her advice in spiritual matters, and helped her in every way. But he did so after he had attained Nirvikalpa Samadhi. He said, "The mother who is there in the temple," meaning Mother Kali, "is the same who is within this," touching himself, meaning his body. "Again, the mother who is within me is the same mother who is in the form of the Holy Mother." He knew Sarada Devi to be the Divine Mother. Through Sri Ramakrishna's own realization, he established that divine relationship with her and invoked that spiritual identity within her. The master regarded Sarada Devi as Mother Kali. In return, Sarada Devi addressed Sri Ramakrishna as Mother Kali. They actually saw each other as that same divinity. Beyond doubt, this period in her life at Dakshineshwar, which was also a period of training, was a joyous time for Sarada Devi. She said, "Sri Ramakrishna had established the picture of bliss within my very heart, and I became full of that bliss. How profound was his love for me. When I used to reside in his room at Dakshineshwar, all through the night he would be drowned either in samadhi or would keep me drowned in talks of God. I would then return to the Nahabat in the morning. What a great concern he had for me." Then came the Shodashi Puja on June 5th, 1872, at the time of the Phalaharani Kali Puja, when Sarada Devi was just 18 years old. It was performed in Sri Ramakrishna's room at Dakshineshwar. All doors were closed. Sarada sat on a wooden seat to the right of the worshipper, Sri Ramakrishna, and entered into a semi-conscious mood. Sri Ramakrishna offered 16 items to her. And when he fed her, she lost consciousness. Uttering mantras, Sri Ramakrishna also went into samadhi. Sarada Devi described, first he painted my feet with alta, put vermilion on my forehead, and clad me in a new cloth. He then fed me with sweets and a betel roll. I saw him doing all this, but had no desire to utter a word. I was in an ecstatic state and completely oblivious to the external world. Hence, I did not know exactly how the worship proceeded. Finally, I bowed down to him mentally and returned to the Nahabat, where she stayed. But what happened at this time? What was the significance of this puja? Sri Ramakrishna awakened his young wife's divinity. Their souls became one with pure consciousness and transcended any sex idea. Sri Ramakrishna saw Sarada as the Divine Mother. He said, she is my Shakti. And Sarada saw Sri Ramakrishna as the embodiment of all gods and goddesses. Subsequently, Sarada Devi stated the meaning of this truth in her own words. Know that the Master and I are identical. Spiritually, on that occasion, Sri Ramakrishna had directly transmitted to Sarada Devi the transcendental realm of Ananda, divine love. Sri Ramakrishna offered Sarada Devi the fruits of his sadhana and all that that means. She became the recipient of his spiritual realizations. Thomas A. Kempis deconstructs the nature of this Ananda, divine love, what Sarada Devi embodied during her life's ministry. He said, love is swift, sincere, pious, joyful, generous, strong, patient, faithful, prudent, long-suffering, courageous, and never seeking her own. For whosoever or wheresoever we seek our own, there we fall from love. Love is swift. Mukunda Saha was a student at the Scottish Church College. When he heard about Sarada Devi from M, the compiler and recorder of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, one day he approached her for initiation, and she said, come tomorrow evening, my son. What should I bring, he asked. Nothing, just a few flowers, she said. After initiation, an attendant monk asked, Mukunda, haven't you brought any sweets? Mukunda was embarrassed. Next day, Mukunda came to pay homage to Mother and brought some sweets. And the same attendant monk said to him, how silly, you're coming straight from college without changing your clothes. It's doubtful Mother will eat any of these sweets. Mukunda, disheartened, went upstairs in the Embodiment and intended only to make pranam and then leave. Upon arising, Sarada Devi said to him, my son, won't you give me the sweets you have brought for me? Mukunda stood silently. Mother stretched out her hand. Well, my son, give me the sweets. Tears trickled from his eyes. I came straight from college without changing, he said. Sarada Devi said, it doesn't matter. She opened the packet, took a sweet, then returned it to him and said, please eat. The sweets tasted like nectar. Again, love is swift, During his college years, Swami Pravrajika used to spend a month at a time with Swami Brahmananda, his guru at Belar Math, during the summers and puja vacations. At this time, he also was blessed with opportunities to receive the darshan of Holy Mother, though he only thought of her as a village woman, never as the Divine Mother. Young Avani used to go to the Udbodhan office in Kolkata on Saturdays, when men were permitted to prostrate before Holy Mother. He shared, people would line up for blocks just to bow down to her. Every time I went and touched Holy Mother's feet, I invariably had the same peculiar experience. In a way, it can be compared to that of receiving an electric shock. Of course, when one touches a live wire, one recoils in pain. But what she communicated by her touch was a very pleasant sensation, which made me feel purified, though I did not at that time realize its full significance. Much later, towards the end of his life, the Swami shared with us in the convent, I now realize that through that touch, Sarada Devi was transmitting spiritual power. With an avatar or his divine consort, it can come with just a touch. Again, love is swift. Chandra Mohan Datta, Sri Sarada Devi's disciple, would go to Sarada Devi in the Udbodhan, but would only ask for prasad. One day, Swami Shuddhananda, who later became the president of the order, told this shy Chandra, ask Mother for liberation. But when Chandra went upstairs and prostrated, he could only blurt out, prasad, which Mother would then give him. The Swami told him to go back again and ask for liberation. So Chandra braced himself, again climbed the stairs, prostrated, but when he looked up at Mother, he saw under her veil the face of Mother Kali. Prasad, he cried out and ran downstairs as fast as he could. Love is sincere. As human, Sarada Devi sometimes worried and showed anxiety, and she also lost her temper momentarily. Sarala, a disciple who later became Brahmaprana of the Sarada Math, described Sarada Devi's anger at Radhu, her niece, whom she looked after and who became deranged after her husband's passing. She said, once in Jairambati, I saw the mother terribly angry at Radhu, who was then 15 or 16 years old. Radhu was running away and the mother ran after her to punish her. The mother's hair was disheveled in her excitement, and she threatened Radhu, saying, today I shall beat you vigorously. Let me see who can protect you. Sarala said, I was extremely frightened and wondered what would happen. The mother caught Radhu, and the latter began to laugh. Do you know what the mother did then? She gently spanked Radhu's back as if caressing her. I witnessed her terrible anger melt away in the twinkling of an eye. I could not help myself and said to her, well, Mother, what have you done? You were so angry and now this is the outcome. The mother was also laughing by then and said, it is enough. If I punished her, Radhu, could anyone protect her? Her anger was like a performance. Love is pious. Sometimes monastics can develop a superiority complex if they aren't shown proper respect. Sri Sarada Devi cautioned her Udbodhan attendant, Swami Arupananda. This spiritual egotism is terrible. Some monks have inflated egos and seek praise and honor. She then gestured to her white sari. It is better to wear a white cloth and cultivate inner renunciation than to wear an ochre cloth. Love is joyful. Sarada Devi said, the purpose of one's life is fulfilled only when one is able to give joy to another. Swami Turiyananda said, Sarada Devi never descends below her throat center, which is the fifth chakra, a state of bhava samadhi, even while performing her various mundane chores and duties. Sri Ramakrishna had described that state. When the mind reaches this fifth plane of consciousness, the aspirant becomes free from all ignorance and illusion. How did this manifest? In her simple village thatched hut, Sarada Devi performed the most menial housework as an act of worship that elevated all recipients. Sarada Devi's life teaches us that any household or workplace can become an exalted spiritual arena. When Abani, the future Swami Pravrajika, was young, he and another young devotee decided to visit Holy Mother in her village without informing her. So without prior written notification, Sarada Devi knew and said to an attendant, prepare 2 places for eating. Rakal's children, meaning Swami Brahmananda's disciples, are coming. When they arrived in Jairambati after the noon meal, Sarada Devi had kept aside food for them, their lunch served on leaf plates. Swami Pravrajika reminisced. She sat by us and we talked. When we got up to remove the plates, Sarada Devi said, what are you doing? My friend was shy in her presence, but I answered boldly, Mother, we must not leave these plates here. She replied, what would you do in your own home if your mother were sitting beside you? She cleaned up. The extraordinary quality about Sarada Devi was she was like one's own mother. I had this impression, the Swami said. Unaware as I was then of her spiritual greatness, I thought of Holy Mother as an ordinary country woman, simple and natural, just like my own mother. But something happened within me then, which I did not realize until much later. Now I would say that I received the grace of Maharaj and of the Ramakrishna order because I received Mother's grace first. From Sarada Devi's exalted perspective, all house cleaning implements were seen as articles used for worship. She saw the same consciousness even in inanimate objects. For example, an attendant once swept her room and threw the broom to one side. Sarada Devi said, what? Should you neglect something because it is small? Whatever you care for will take care of you also. Whatever regard a thing deserves, that must be accorded to it. Even the broom must be treated respectfully. Love is generous. Sarada Devi said, let me tell you how to love all equally. Do not demand anything of those you love. If you make demands, some will give you more and some less. In that case, you will love more those who give you more and less those who give you less. Thus, your love will not be the same for all. You will not be able to love all impartially. Once, Holy Mother visited a sick widow who had a son and no one to care for her. She had such a badly abscessed ear that it exuded a foul odor and no one would go near her. Mother nursed the worm-infected abscess herself and told Bharata, a young monk attendant, please take her to the Kolpur ashrama and serve her with the other patients there. A doctor and monks cared for the woman day and night, but she died after a few days. The monks cremated her body and reported the news to Mother. She said, "My sons, you all worked like her own children. If she had stayed here, she would have died without any care and even without a little water." Love is strong. Sarada Devi observed unconventional social actions for her day. Not many are aware that Sarada Devi sometimes dissuaded young women from marriage. When a mother approached Sarada Devi to induce her daughter to marry someone this Holy Mother knew, Sarada Devi responded, "Is it not a misery to remain in lifelong slavery to another and always dance to his tune?" She advised the mother to not force her daughter to marry if she was disinclined. Sarada Devi was also an advocate for women's education. On November 13th, 1898, she inaugurated the Sister Nivedita School for Girls in Kolkata. And she said, "May the Divine Mother of the Universe bless this school. May the girls be trained here by the ideals of society." Sister Nivedita was a disciple of Swami Vivekananda, and he encouraged her to come to India to perform this kind of work for the uplift of Indian women. Holy Mother also took a stand against domestic violence. For example, one summer evening, Mother was on the upper veranda of the Embodiment in Kolkata, repeating her japa, her rosary. And she suddenly saw a man beating his wife in the hut across the road with kicks and slaps. Her only fault was that she had not cooked the rice on time. Sarada Devi's japa stopped. She stood up, holding the railing, and shouted at the top of her voice, "I say, you wretch, will you kill your wife outright?" Her powerful stance and tone of voice caused the man to freeze at once. He lowered his head and retreated. Sarada Devi also championed the rights of an untouchable woman living out of wedlock. Sarada Devi scolded the man, "Look here, she has renounced all for your sake, and you have accepted her for a long time. It will be very sinful for you to reject her now. There will be no room for you, even in hell." Thus, the couple were reconciled. She was even what you might call an animal rights advocate. Sarada Devi pointed out that even a domestic cat had the seat of God on its head. A pet parrot had the same Lord within its heart, and a cow had an inalienable right over available vegetable peelings that should be properly offered directly to it. A village cat would often lay quietly at her feet. Some of her attendants would mistreat the cat and its family. When Sarada Devi left for Calcutta, she instructed one attendant to cook rice specially for the cats. And she said, "Don't beat the cats. Even in them am I." Her motherly love also transcended societal constraints of caste rules of her time. When Sister Nivedita, a Westerner, moved into Sarada Devi's Kolkata household, she unintentionally jeopardized Holy Mother's orthodoxy, but at the same time precipitated her own acceptance by Orthodox Hindu society. Mother was respected. When Sister Nivedita, Mrs. Sarah Bull, and Miss Josephine MacLeod, all disciples of Swami Vivekananda, who helped the work not only in America, but also in India, ate with Holy Mother, which was considered, taboo, Swami Vivekananda wrote to Swami Ramakrishnananda, "The European and American ladies went the other day to see her, Holy Mother, And what do you think? Mother even ate with him. Isn't that grand? The only thing that Mother didn't take was rice with them. So in a very strict sense, she didn't break caste rules, but she set a precedent. By eating with them, Sarada Devi sanctioned Hindu society to accept them and absorb them into its fold. Love is patient. Mother had a great number of disciples and devotees who came to visit her. One eyewitness, Satyendranath Majumdar's brother, described his account. Some afternoons I was entrusted with the task of lining up the devotees who wanted to visit the mother in the Embodiment house. Some eccentrics pestered the mother. I saw an elderly man crying loudly and bumping his head in front of the mother. I noticed another person begin to tell his life's story to her without caring what other people were waiting in line behind him. Again, someone put his head on the feet of the mother and remained there motionless. Another day, a man laid down in front of her and requested her to place her foot on his chest and awaken his consciousness right then. It was extremely difficult to make them understand, to stop their importunate demands. Sometimes I was irritated, observing their childish emotions, and other times I could not control my laughter, watching their immature behavior. One day, when I joked about these people in front of Mother, she said to me, "My son, when you grow up, you will understand how much pain these distressed people carry in their hearts. You are not a mother." Love is faithful. Sarada Devi withstood the villagers' criticism who called Sri Ramakrishna mad. Even her own mother lamented, "I have married my daughter to a madman." About this difficult time, Sarada Devi said, "Work keeps the body and mind in good shape. During my young days at Jairambati, I was active day and night and did not visit anyone's house so that I might avoid their remarks. Once, when Sri Ramakrishna visited Jairambati during this early period, Swami Subodhananda related, one night in Jairambati, the master went to bed after supper. Afterwards, Holy Mother had her supper and finished the housework. When she entered the master's room, she found a blazing light shining on the bed, but the bed was empty. She stood there the entire night with folded hands. At daybreak, the master emerged from the light and bowed down to the Holy Mother, saying, "You have appeared in this form. Very good." Love is prudent. Several years, Sri Ramakrishna had attended the famous Vaishnava festival in Panahati, just north of Dakshineshwar. Devotees rented 2 boats and one for the master. Sarada Devi and women devotees prepared lunch for everyone. Sarada requested a woman devotee to ask Sri Ramakrishna if she could accompany them. Sri Ramakrishna said, "Well, you are all going. She may go if she wishes." When Sarada Devi heard this, she understood. Well, many devotees are going. It will be difficult for me to get off the boat and visit the festival. I shall not go. Later, Sri Ramakrishna said, "What a crowd was there. Everyone was watching me. She, Sarada, did the right thing by not going with us. If people had seen her with me, they would have remarked, 'A pair of swans has come.' She is very intelligent." Love is long-suffering. Family members in Jairambati abused mother, made constant demands of money on her, and didn't recognize her divinity. Her brothers Prasanna, Kalikumar, and Bharata were greedy, selfish, and quarrelsome. Her sisters-in-law were opportunists and jealous. Her niece Nalini was quarrelsome and rude. But see how she, Sarada Devi, rose above family attachment. One day, Prasanna said to her, "Sister, I have heard that you appeared to a devotee in a dream, gave him initiation, and also assured him of his liberation. You have cared for us from birth and have brought us up. Shall we remain like this forever?" Sarada Devi replied, "Things will happen as the master ordains. Let me tell you something. Sri Krishna played with the cowherd boys, laughed with them, walked with them, and even ate the leavings from their plates. Did they know who he was?" See the insight into her divine play. Another time in 1918, Sarada Devi was seated on the veranda at her Jairambati house. Suddenly, Kali Kumar and Bharata, the two brothers, began to quarrel about a fence Kali Kumar had put up, which obstructed the path that paddy was carried to Bharata's farm. They were about to come to blows, and Sarada Devi jumped up between them, grabbed them by their arms, blaming them both for the quarrel. Her veil fell, and the brothers walked away, cursing each other. But when Mother returned to her veranda, she suddenly burst into laughter. What an illusion Mahamaya, the great enchantress, has conjured up. Here is this infinite world, and what one claims as his possession will be left behind at death. Still men cannot understand this simple truth. See also her acceptance of Yogamaya. Radhu, Sarada Devi's niece, embodied Yogamaya, whose eccentricities, petulance, and abuse kept Mother's mind tied to the earthly plane for 20 years. Otherwise, she would have left her body. One January morning in 1919, Holy Mother's party of 2 monks and relatives, including Radhu, who was about to give birth, left hurriedly for Jairambati in 6 bullock carts. Sarada Devi and Radhu shared 1 bullock cart. When the cart approached Kotalpur, Radhu began pushing Holy Mother with her feet. "Get away from here, get away, get out of the cart," Radhu said. Holy Mother moved to the back of the cart as far as possible. "If I move away, how then shall I practice all these austerities through you?" she told Radhu. When Radhu kicked her yet again, Holy Mother said, "What is it you have done, Radhi? What have you done?" Quickly, she took dust of her own feet and touched it to Radhu's head. Love is courageous. In 1877, young Sarada made her 4th visit to Dakshineshwar. When she heard of the death of Chandramani, Sri Ramakrishna's mother, she set out on foot for Dakshineshwar from her village of Jairambati, accompanied by a niece, Lakshmi, nephew, Shivaram, and 2 village women. She hid her jewelry and Lakshmi's jewelry as a precaution against robbery in the fields between Jairambati and Dakshineshwar, which often occurred on such trips. Upon reaching the field of Telobello, young Sarada couldn't keep up with her party and told them to go ahead. She would meet them later at Tarakeshwar Inn. The sun sank below the horizon, and suddenly a dark, fierce-looking man approached her, his wife right behind her. The man demanded. Who are you standing alone at this hour of night? He said, gruffly. Sarada Devi entreated them with her words and simplicity. Father, my companions have left me behind, and I have lost my way. Please accompany me to where they are staying. Turning to the woman, she took her hand. Mother, I am your daughter Sarada. I'm in danger, but it is sheer luck that you and father have come. The robbers' hearts melted. Overwhelmed with parental love, they took her to a nearby shop, bedded her down, brought her puffed rice, and guarded as she slept through the night. Next day, they brought her to Tarakeshwar Inn, and all three wept as they parted company at last. Much later, Sarada Devi asked them, why did you show me such kindness and affection? They replied, you are not an ordinary human being. We saw you as Mother Kali. Sarada Devi said, how is that? What did you see? The couple responded firmly, no, child, we have really seen you as Kali. You hide that form from us now because we are sinners. Sarada Devi then said in a detached tone, you may say so, but I know nothing about it. Love is never seeking her own. Swami Saradeshananda, Gopesh Maharaj, gives us an eyewitness account. As a young boy, he attended a mother, and from the notes he took in his diary came forth the life of Holy Mother by Swami Kumbharananda. He said the mother used to live in Jarambati like a daughter of her father's house. She wore no veil nor observed Buddha there, and she talked with people without hesitation. For that reason, her children flocked there to meet her. In the Embodiment, the monks and devotees served and looked after her, whereas in Jairambati, the mother was busy taking care of the monks and devotees. She collected the groceries, cooked the meals, fed the devotees, cleaned their eating place, and arranged their rest. Those who came from far away, she kept at her place at least for a couple of days. She was always anxious to make them comfortable. She inquired about their home and family, listened to their tales of joy and sorrow, expressed her sympathy and empathy, and gave them spiritual advice. She acted as a mother, Saradeshananda said, a true mother. When the devotees were about to leave, she became sad and tears trickled from her eyes. She continued watching them till they were out of sight. That picture of the mother remained engraved forever in the hearts of those devotees. This is Sarada Devi, mother of all, an embodiment of divine love.